Patty's here. Okay, so I gotta find Patty from sunny California. 70 to 75 degrees right now. So this morning is especially special morning because our upline and a mentor, Patty Cepeda, is our guest. So, Patty, where are you? Are you there yet?
I
Oh, yeah, she's
am.
okay,
Hi.
great. Hi.
I just needed to get a little water.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna hand over the mic to you because I don't want to waste any time on me. You're much more special than me. So, Patty, take it away. I'm gonna mute myself and then hand over the mic.
Oh, thank you. Do you want to interview me, potentially ask me questions, or do we want to open this up for questions at the end?
We will open the questions at the end a little bit. Yeah, so we
That?
can do that. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, do we have primarily, I know we spoke a little bit beforehand, is this primarily just for the sake of people that are coming on? Is this primarily people that are already involved with your organization, or do we have some new people on? Or
I think it's mostly people already in the organization. However, I'm sure this will be shared by many people with the recording. So it'd be nice if you can, touch over the basics of our business a little bit, and then, you can do training afterward.
Fabulous. All right.
Okay.
Well, I always like to, that's fabulous, Kwang Su. Thank you so much. And we have such an incredible leader here with Kwang Su and Marie, amazing leaders and leadership in this entire team that I think everybody can get extremely excited by. And Kwang Su, if you can just monitor and make sure all the lines stay muted as people join, that would be great, because I'm easily distracted. I oftentimes say, if ADD was a diagnosis when I was a kid, they would have put me on Ritalin. And thank God it wasn't a diagnosis when I was a kid, because the truth is I think it's a good thing. And I think it's good to be able to multitask. It's my answer to that. But anyway, I'd like to welcome everyone here today. It's exciting to be able to speak to people all around the world right now from my home. And I want to share the fact that the reason that this industry and what we do attracted me so much is because of freedom. I believe God put my husband and I together in college, freshman year. We got out of college and we eloped. And we got married. He went into the New York State Police Academy. Many of you have heard from Herb. And maybe this is the first time you're hearing from me. Probably the case, because the team grows so fast, is that he was going his direction with his job that he was doing, and I was getting my master's degree in 1 year instead of 2 years. So what happened was I was introduced, thank you, Mark. I was introduced, Herb and I, and I don't want to get into the details because I shouldn't have been in his troop car, but I'll just leave it at that. And I know for a fact that his job was dangerous firsthand. I know it's a very dangerous job. He ended up in a shootout. I was getting a master's degree in 1 year in special education, thinking I was going to be a teacher for the next 40 years. And, we were introduced to this at this point in time when I started to realize he was going to work his shifts. I was going to work opposite shifts many times. He was going to have his days off, and many times I'd have my days off. And I started to realize very quickly, besides the danger in his job, that I didn't really like what we just signed up for. And I started to learn also very quickly, I really don't like working for people. And I'm sharing my story because I want all of you to investigate deep down within, what is your reason for doing this? Because as I start to share this story, you're going to hear some major conviction from within. Because what ended up happening was another New York State trooper, a friend of mine and my husband, we became friends with them, came over with an opportunity for a home-based business. Something I had never heard of, never thought of. I come from a family of business owners, and I just had never heard of anything like what he was sharing. And he was sharing that people were earning, this man was earning millions of dollars in this company. that his daughter was earning, over $10,000 a month at 22 years old. And, my initial reaction to that was, as the kids would say today, I'll use a kid terminology since we have 5 kids now, is he fell for that? I just couldn't believe that he even fell for that he really believed that. But you know what? He shared a few other things about the freedom he had, and he left, and it happened to have been with a skincare company that's a giant today. It's a big company. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It's called New Skin International, which I'll explain to you why we're not talking about New Skin. We're talking about Isogenics today in a minute. And anyway, he left, and I was extremely excited to get the products at the wholesale, and that was it. So when he left, I thought, man, I'll save money with this just buying at wholesale, and I was glad he left. But what happened to me was something deep inside kept clicking off, and that was, but what if? What if it works? What if this really is true, that this multimillionaire would take my phone call? Didn't make any sense to me. What if he would really become a mentor to me and teach me how he did it? What if he really does have this freedom? Even though I didn't really believe it, but what if? And I ended up making that phone call, and he did invite us to his home in Connecticut, and there was a few other couples down there, and I pulled into this big, majestic, beautiful mansion, and it was actually more intimidating than it was impressive, because I just don't come from that, right? I didn't come from that. Praise the Lord, that's where we are today, which I just give God all the glory. But we pull in, and he invited us in. We went into the big, big, beautiful home. And I remember sitting in his kitchen, and this is what I want you to hear. He shared a couple things about, well, first of all, he came in, he says that anybody can do this. We're no different than him. And of course, the enemy voice came into my head saying, yeah, well, I don't believe that. You're older than me. You have business background. You have a background. You have money and connections and everything else. And the enemy voice came into my ear and said, he's different than you. And the guy, Richard, was saying he's not. But ultimately, he kept going. He says most people start on something like this on a part-time basis with the potential to match or replace their full-time incomes. And I thought, okay, and I liked that because I figured, well, I'll finish getting my master's degree. I'd already been halfway through a very intensive program. And then he said something that really got me. He said, my wife and I wake up every morning and have breakfast together. And we're able to do whatever we want, whenever we want, with whomever we want, as much as we want, and not have to worry about money. Guys, something in me rose up, and it was like, I have to have that. I have to have that, because I saw our lifestyle and the choices and the careers, which were 2 well-paying, well-respected careers in New York State, but with zero freedom and a cap on our freedom and our income. And I heard that, and I said, I have to have this. And later during the day, there was a few other couples there, like I said, but he's showing us a couple cars in his garage, and I'm really not materialistic and impressed by all this kind of thing. I still had that running through my head, that freedom. And I remember looking at him and saying, Richard, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I meant it. And I was willing to do anything within the confines of I love the Lord. I'm not going to lie, steal, cheat, do anything stupid. But I knew I was going to work hard for the next 40 years. And that if I could do this part-time, start to match my career, match my husband, get him off, I was bound and determined to get Herb off the state police. I did not like it when I heard, about this high-speed chase, the shootout, the danger, and there was nothing. I would say this to everybody I met with. There was nothing that was going to get in my way of becoming tremendously successful. We ended up in under 2 years being at the top of this company with what little time we had. I worked frantically. The other thing, and I want to share this with you, that Richard said to me, he said, and I'm a little competitive. I've always been an athlete. And if you've got a competitive bone in your body, let this sink in. If this stresses you out, then just let it go in one ear and out the other and figure out what does motivate you. A why will motivate you. Why are you doing this? Well, for me, he said, everyone, and this is true of Isogenics, will hear about this. And they're either going to hear about it through you or through someone else. And when he said that to me, and this was a different company, I heard that and said, oh my goodness. So I was out to tell the world as fast as possible so that that networking, that word of mouth can happen from you. You can own your area. And don't even think that people, you might run into a person here or there that maybe have heard of the company, has heard of the company. Don't let that be any, basis, because the truth is right now, as we're entering our growth, this major growth and explosion, people are going from, what is it? I never heard of it, to they're starting to hear a few testimonies. They've heard of this person that lost 100 pounds. We're not even a weight loss program. You heard of this person. We heard of the athletes we're working with. They've heard things. And so now we're going from, what is it? No, I don't really trust it. I got to check with my doctor, blah, 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 to, I've got to have it. They're going to start, and it hasn't really happened at a major level, even in this country, let alone the expansion into foreign countries. So we're sitting in front of something where everyone is going to even be, not only have they not heard about it, and they've got to hear about it from somebody, they're going to start looking for it. So we've just got to get in the way of what's about to happen. And the person, the key, and this is what our mentor said, the key to that, and I've worded it to say, he who has the biggest mouth here wins. I mean, if you've got a big mouth, if you get this, and you get your why, and you understand, see, what happened with the first company was we got to the top of that company, the average income was $74,000 a month. We were on the lower end of that, but it was still in our early 20s, a lot of money. We ended up, spending money faster than we made it, to be honest with you. So we were kind of stupid and frivolous. But the truth is, we ended up walking away from that company because one day I woke up and I said to my husband, I said, Herbie, I can't do this anymore. And he says, well, what do you mean? I said, who is duplicating what we did? Who is duplicating what we did? Who's making the money and having the lifestyle and the freedom that we had? And that's when, we walked away. It felt like I was ripping my heart out to walk away from this company. But what we determined, because at that point we were getting prospected and propositioned into everything you can imagine. People wanted to give us this offer and this, you can't refuse this offer, and fly us all around the country. And we decided, because we've determined to build this business from our home, around our family, and be wise about it. We're not into doing something like this to get on stages all over the world. That's not why we did it. We got into it to establish something by helping as many people. And what we're doing, by the way, is developing master trainers, leaders of master trainers and leaders. So we're helping to duplicate that process, which causes us to have residual income. Whether we get out of bed or not, it's close to $3 million a year comes to us. Like, praise God. I know that he's given us the talents and the ability to do that. And I do not, it says in the Bible to boast on the Lord. And I boast on the Lord about that. It's not about how great I am. It's about, seriously, the abilities he has given us, and to keep him first in everything. And what we always say, which is a coined phrase from God himself, is, who can I help today? If we can help as many other people achieve what it is that they want, we can have anything in life that we want. And so that's what we did, was we went like bananas with this. And what we ended up doing with the first company when we walked away from it was we started to get prospected, as I was saying, into everything. And at that point, her and I decided, let's establish what happened. Let's establish, because that was our first go in this industry. What are the criteria needed to evaluate these types of companies? Because listen to this and write it down, please. There are thousands of companies that start up every year in this industry and fail. 80% fail in the first 2 years. 1 in 1,000 make it to 5 years. There's only been, you can count on your fingers of your hands, how many companies have grown in this industry to $1 billion a year or more and sustain that. Like, it's very rare that you find a company with these attributes. And the first attribute is that the company is stable. The owners understand this industry, as well as corporate. They got to understand, and they're willing to surround themselves with people to support them in every area that they're not familiar with. But when we found this company, Jim and Kathy Coover have background. Jim Coover, he brought a company to $1 billion back in the early 80s in under 2 years. Like, he's got that industry. Kathy has been out in the field doing what we all do. And so she's got the know-how in the field. And I will say this, but I'm not going to elaborate for the sake of time on this call, that it is imperative that they understand this industry, because some of the checks and incomes that come out to us, some of us in the field, are more than the corporate reps make. And when you have a corporate mentality, what starts to happen is they don't like that. So that's just one little piece of it. But so anyway, the company has to be stable. That's number one. Number two, the products must be consumable. You use them up. You have to reorder them. Unique is a bonus factor. If you can't get it anywhere else, that's awesome. There's a lot of companies out there that are doing things like coffee or things that you can get down the street. Here you have the most unique program on the face of the planet. And I'll say this, there is nothing that comes close to the efficacy, the quality. People look different within days. People feel different within days. Why? It's not isogenics that's the miracle, it's our bodies. When we put our bodies into an environment where we're feeding them the optimal nutritional that you can find. I mean, you cannot find a higher quality, more absorbable nutritionals on the face of the planet. And I know this sounds biased, and coupled with a very necessary element of cellular cleansing, you can't find it anywhere on the planet. Now, I've challenged people over and over and over, if you can find something that's better, let me know, and I'll stop saying that. But no one can find anything or tell me that we have anything that even comes close. And the reason that people look different and feel different within days is because the body is responding to that. And then you couple it with that cellular cleansing, which is not a bowel movement for any new people. I always say it's not a poop and cleanse. But the truth is when you clean it out, it's why we go tune up our car. It's why we get an oil filter. It's why you clean out the lint basket in your dryer. The reason you do that is because when you clean things out, it affects positively the efficiency of the machine. Our machines are getting clogged in the air, the water, the food, the pesticides. No, I don't think I need to explain it to this group, but for the sake of the possibility that there's people on here who are looking at this for the first time, I want you to realize we live in a toxic world. They did a study where they found almost 87%. They found a crazy amount of toxins. It was almost, to count them, almost 300 known toxins in the umbilical cords of brand newborns. We're born into toxicity. It is non-disputable. And what's happening is the liver is overloaded, the overage is getting into the cells at the cellular level, and what the defense mechanism at the cellular level to that is the body, when a toxin enters a cell, it'll damage the makeup of the cell, the RNA, the DNA, the very mitochondria, the makeup. And what the body will do to defend that is pull a little fat and a little water to coat that impurity so that it doesn't do that, so it doesn't damage the cell. So it's almost like it encapsulates it, pushes it to the side of the cell, and you don't think anything of, oh, big deal. That's good. Thank God the body works this way. But the truth is we're 100% cells. So 200 trillion cells in the body, and what's happening is people are carrying around this toxic weight. Actually, it's excess fat, and this is why I love how now we have studies out there proving that this visceral fat, which is the dangerous fat that finds itself around internal organs, is going. It's being deleted from the body because of this, what I'm describing right now. By drinking a lot of water, you're going to end up, the toxins release, and then of course you drink a lot of water, it flushes them out. People feel better energy, better mental clarity. They sleep better. Until you learn the compensation plan, you're going to sleep like a baby. Then when you learn, if you're interested in the business end of this, then you can't sleep. And I always start overviews. If we're going to do an overview, I always say, hey, listen, how many people are here to hear about this because they want to hear about a way to make some extra money? Recession-proof industry. They want to maybe supplement their income, or how many people want to replace their income or hit a financial home run. And I put my hand up, and there's a lot of people that fall in that category. Then I say, okay, and how many people are here just to get healthy? They want to feel better, better energy, better mental clarity, sleep like a baby, maybe lose 5 to 20 pounds of fat in the next 2 weeks without dieting. I raise my hand, and there's a certain number that goes up for that. And then I start my overview by saying, listen, I'm going to do Herb and I, whoever I'm presenting with, we're going to do our best to, accomplish addressing both of those areas, but we're certainly not going to answer all of your questions. So please do get back in touch with whoever invited you here. But I want to speak to those that are interested just in feeling better, leaner, losing body fat, putting on lean tissue, maintaining and building muscle, which actually increases your metabolism. Guys, this is the opposite of a diet. Dieting deprives your body of nutrition, and thereby what happens, the defense mechanism is your body hangs on to fat because it's in starvation mode. While at the same time, it finds nutrition in the lean tissue, the bone, the internal organ, the brain. And at the end of these crazy cockamamie diets, people are down, 15, 20 pounds. But what they've really done is they've lost lean tissue, which weighs more than fat. And they've lost the lean tissue, they've put on fat, their metabolism tanks, they start to eat again, and it's like the movie The Nutty Professor, where they just blow up, and they don't understand why they can't lose weight. Here, this is the opposite of a diet. People are actually putting more nutrition into their bodies than they're used to, while at the same time addressing that toxicity issue. So the body is dropping fat, building and maintaining lean tissue. And I love how one of the top urologists down at Mount Sinai School of Medicine in New York City, I was sitting right there in the audience of about 300 people, and I was in the front row. He said, in order for us to live longer, and I wrote this down verbatim, so I'm repeating this verbatim. In order for us to live longer, we need to eat less calories and get more nutrition. And he shrugged his shoulders just like this. And until I found Isagenix, that was impossible. There is nothing out there as nutrient dense and absorbable. Very important. Absorption is key. Nothing comes close to this. That's why you're all feeling different. That's why you're all looking different. And maybe you didn't have a big, maybe Chuck, I see you with your muscles. Maybe you guys, some of it, I hear this every now and again, because I lost 5 pounds. Like, I was always an athlete. I was always lean, right? So I didn't have this major thing, but 5 pounds for a woman is good, right? But what I noticed was I read the directions and I lost over 19 inches on my body. That's like unheard of. But what's more unheard of, this is huge. We have a very elaborate Tanita body composition machine, commercial grade. It was $5,000 when we bought it. And we had purchased this machine about 7 years prior to getting into Isagenix. Guys, we had never seen what I'm about to tell you. Herb lost 4 inches from his waist. He went from a 36-inch waist to a 32-inch waist. We both got on that machine and dropped 4 percentage points in body fat off already lean bodies. Man, this is unheard of. I was flipping out. My mom at 84 years old, she did it her New York mom way. She did it whatever way she felt like doing this. She lost 37 inches from her body in 2 weeks doing it her way, which was however she wanted. 37 inches. I was scared. I was like, oh my goodness, because the amount of inches that came off her neck, I was like, oh my goodness, is this safe? I called up somebody in our upline because I neglected to tell you guys how we found out about this was through a coaching client, because we had lost hope as we came up with this criteria, and I had started to say the products, and then I'm off on this tangent with the products because they're amazing. But what's more exciting than that is the opportunity. The third criteria, just in case you were taking notes, is the compensation plan. It needs to be lucrative and it needs to be simple. And that was the problem with the other company. It wasn't simple. It wasn't duplicating. Here, we have so many people earning multiple 6 figures a year, 7 figures a year. You've heard the stories. You've met the people. Are actually going to have our former nanny, who is 26 now, met her husband, man of God. They are so excited to be in this over in this opportunity, resisted. She was our nanny, graduated from ministry school, went back to Tennessee. Her parents sat her down, said, you put on a little weight. She so didn't want to do this because she thought it was sales. And as much as I told her it's not sales, Audrey, I hate sales, but I'm not pushy. If she didn't want to do it, I didn't push. She ended up, she so not wanted to do what we did. She went to Weight Watchers, took the weight off, put it all back on. Surprise, surprise, because that's what dieters do, right? And she ended up at that point called. She lost 35 pounds in about 5 or 6 weeks and said, you know what, forget being a hairdresser. I want to live the lifestyle that those guys are living, because we were taking her on cruises. We were taking her where we needed to, you know, because we had our 5 kids were younger. And it was, she said to herself, or to me, she said, man, I want to live the lifestyle you guys are living. And she got busy. Well, this year she'll take home over $300,000 at 26 years old. Many of you know Jessica Johnson, our neighbor, who didn't think she could use this. Finally decided to give it a shot, got on it, couldn't believe how she felt. She had a condition, a medical condition, so she had been on support groups on social media about it. Couldn't believe how she felt. She told me when she started with the program, I'm not telling anybody about this. I said, good, don't tell anybody. You don't have to tell anybody about it if you don't want to. If you're here for just the products, don't tell anybody. It's fine. But what happens, though, is if you have a heart at all, if you care at all about those that you love, it's like you can't not tell people. And so she started to share it with people she loved on social media. She was posting how she felt. Well, in about 2.5 years, or maybe a little less than that, she took home over $1 million. She's earning $1 million a year residual. She has 3 small children at home and has never done anything like this in her life. Guys, this is the opportunity that we have. Why? The compensation plan is lucrative, it's simple, it's team building. The 4th criteria is training and support, which ours is second to none. Company has great training and support. Our BeSetFreeLife.com, our trainings, programs, and the fact that Herb and I are working with you guys and rising up the leaders every morning, Monday through Friday. We've got a cleanse coach call for those that want to get on that Sunday nights. Now, Diane Williams, Chuck's wife, who is amazing. She's amazing. She's doing some tools trainings on Saturday morning. Like, you've got everything right before your I remember when we started in this industry, the biggest thing we had was our fax machine. I remember when that company opened Hong Kong, I had to go to Hong Kong. I went to Hong Kong, which was really a waste. Herb should have went, it was really, but the truth is a fax machine now, oh my goodness, this thing does everything. Like, we can communicate and connect with millions of people. It's so quick. Everything's so fast. So the truth is we have social networks. And now what this company has done for those that are new is spend 0 money on advertising. What it does is it puts all of the advertising budget that these multi-million-dollar advertising campaigns that the companies like Nike would do in traditional business, and it puts it into the distribution force for sharing so we help. What do? We don't sell. I hate sales. We help people open their accounts, like a Sam's Club or a Costco, BJ's, a wholesale club. And instead of a brick and mortar wholesale club, this is an online store. So you open your account, instead of whatever it is for Sam's, $100 or whatever it is, this is a $39 annual fee, opens your account, allows you to go online to your store and purchase at the wholesale. That simple. So what we do, though, is we set people up for success. So we ask a few questions, we find out what their goals are, and then we set them up with the appropriate package of products to get them started so that they can have success on the program. And then what happens is they can't even shut up about it. It's amazing. It's the first time, and we've been in this industry now for a long time. It's almost, I don't know, it's over 25 years. Crazy how long we've been in this industry. And we have never seen true networking until now. This is true networking, meaning that people literally can't not tell people about it. And then the 5th criteria is timing, which I was saying before. The timing is crucial. These companies go through these growth phases where they start out formulation, and they're just getting started. That's where 80% fail, all these startup costs. They'll go into concentration, this good, solid, steady, consistent growth, and then they'll hit this critical mass, which is when people start to turn their heads. People are starting to say, oh my goodness, I've heard about that, I got to get that, or they start to look for it. That's where we are. And then the companies get pushed into a momentum growth phase. And that can go on for a while, and then ultimately stability where that lasts for the life of the company. And you know what happens? The company continues to prosper, but it's the key point now is where we are with the growth. And what happens is that growth chart, which I personally have taught in business schools, what happens is it actually repeats itself in every country that we open up into. So we've got some countries in sight, and we're just excited. I mean, you guys are sitting, at the very least, I tell people, the very least case scenario, watch your body transform. Watch your body transform. How many people we've seen whose bodies have been transformed, they feel better, and they've helped a few people, and maybe get there, because it's just food. It's groceries. It's a sustenance, right? And it tastes fantastic. I'm not telling anybody that's using it that. You all know that it tastes phenomenal. Our athletic line is absolutely outstanding. Like, we have an incredible program all around. And at the very least, you tell a few people and you get it for free. That's what I tell people, so they don't stress out. But the truth is then all of a sudden they can start to believe for, man, if I could earn an extra $100 a month, even $100 a week, $200 a week, $500 a week. Do you know it's been said that $500 a week would save most marriages because of the financial stress? $500 a week. We all know that's nothing to get to that here. $1,000 a week. Imagine how that would change things for people. And then when they start to achieve certain things, that's when people start to believe they can do more. Sometimes, and I'm guilty of it, we'll talk so big that it scares people. But yeah, I don't want to not talk big. You've got to give the examples for those people who can think big. Otherwise, and I always say this too, write this down, you will not have a business if you don't talk about a business. And I've spent a little ample time today speaking about the program, the products, how they work and all that. But the truth is, we've been accused of talking too much about the business. So just write that down. You will not have a business if you don't talk about a business. You have to at least let them know. And I don't care how much money they're making. Most people, like even in my neighborhood here, they might make a lot of money, and guess what? They're miserable. They're tied to their income. My family, a family of store owners, guess what? They're tied, they're married to those businesses. And here you have an opportunity to duplicate yourself through the efforts of others and set yourself totally free. And most of you see that as you watch our life. We just pick up and go. We go here, we go there. The only thing that kind of holds us back is the kids are in school now, whereby when we were homeschooling them, we had even more freedom. But you know what? It's just I wish I could give everyone a pill that you could drink with your glass of water and know everything I know. The more you know, the more excited you get. People can't believe it who see me, and I'm so excited, because the reason I am is there's no skeletons in the closet. There's nothing that you're going to find out later that you're going to say, oh, it's amazing. So Kung Su or Chuck or anybody that would like to maybe ask questions. I know I kind of shared my story, my testimony, and I hope what I'm driving home is the value and the importance of knowing your why. For me, it was freedom. And now with what we do and the ability to have not only, I'm home. I'm home with the kids, but Herb is home with it. The biggest stressor is if there's two games. The kids have two games at the same time and I can't get to them. So anyway, let me turn it back over to you, and maybe you can direct me with some questions.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I knew it was going to be good because it's none other than Patty. But I've learned so much. I'm moved. I'm ready to rock and roll. I mean, I have a question though. This is questions often asked to people like you, Patty. Well, they'll say you're successful because you've done this before. You have trainings before, and only people who has done this before make money. So what do I have a chance? I mean, you've exemplified your nanny, but even going further, I mean, what do they tell those people?
Well, I think stories really sell. I mean, the idea that I've shared two stories and examples of people that, Audrey's on, her goal is to be the youngest millionaire, and she's right on track with the company at 26. Our neighbor Jessica never did this before. I can go on and on. My sister Kathy, who resisted, and my mother really encouraged her. And the long and short, she got on it with the stupid box. Is this refundable? And her body transformed and really had a negative feeling about the industry because there was an ambush with her with a different company that had this secretive approach. And she really, and she's a businesswoman and all this.
Mm-hmm.
She's a company millionaire today too. I could go on and on with this number of people whose lives have been transformed, who have never done anything like this before. So the truth is, then I have my own daughters who are, they're in college and they're working diligently now at this, but yet they're just getting their act together. And I remind them, Chelsea, Ryan, remember when you used to tell me, don't make eye contact with people. Like, it does require that you're reaching out and you're working with people and you're touching, you're working. They see our life today, and I have to gently remind them, remember the work it takes. It's not going to just happen, because my own daughters, our daughters, aren't having tremendous success yet. But they're not going to quit. They know they will be earning 6 figures a year when they graduate from college. And now I'm starting to see the focus. So how many years later? They're 23 and 21. So for those people who are maybe doing this and it's like not just, happening, I would say, well, you know what? First of all, there's a growth phase. There's a curve. Some people are better with people and better communicators than others. I met a guy last night. He may be on this call. I can't tell who's all on, but what a great guy. But I was racing. I had to pick kids up. People say, how do you do all this? I'm like, I don't know. I just know that you just have to stay positive and active and goal orientated, and you will make this happen. But give yourself grace. Yes, Kwang Soo, the truth is, we came to the table and had gone through a lot of the ups and downs and the learning processes in communicating and all of that. I grant you that. So what? We got in the wrong company and we left it. We had ups and downs, trials and errors with all different things that we were looking at. And we came many years later to find the right company at the right time, whose goal, Kathy Coover herself, create more 6- and 7-figure a year income earners than any other company in this industry, who's had it. It's like when you talk to Kathy, and she may have said it to you, welcome home. With all the other companies and their nonsense and changing the comp plan and all, they're putting more money back into the comp plan. It's just amazing. So I don't know if that answers your question, Kwang Soo, but the truth is sometimes it's just a growth phase. It's not about that. It's a team building thing, 2 teams. I mean, how can you really, you've got a team that's helping you grow. It's just the simplest compensation plan in the world. You do have to stretch. You do have to spit in the face of fear, because some people have fear to even talk to somebody. So they've got, there is some growth needed for sure. But the only way you can fail at this is to quit.
Right. Thank you. I was just talking to Patty just before we get on, and some of you have seen the Facebook page where she and her, exposed the business to the Uber driver. And he's now interested in the business. And we don't know whether he's going to do it or not. But even, successful people like Patty and her, they'll go out and expose to everybody. We all talk about making a list. And list is not just the people you really, really know each other. I mean, really good. List is everybody. My question to everyone in my team is, who can you not to get afford? Who can you not? you know, appeal this to, and if you can afford this, you can't afford not to tell anybody. This is like helping other people as well. So, I mean, I have some people in my team and myself as well that I've done this a couple of times, and a lot of times we just runs out of our list. You know, I've exposed to everybody that I knew. That's how I became successful in my other company. So I just don't have anybody to go after. But you know, it keeps happening, and it doesn't have to happen tomorrow either, right? You keep plugging along, you'll find people, and you know,
Yeah.
like Patty said, it's not just you building it; it's your team building it together with you.
Yeah.
So we have much more help. So that was my question. Does anybody else have a question? I'm going to unmute the person who wants to ask. Okay, Chuck. All right, so I'll unmute you, Chuck. Where's Chuck? Chuck. Okay, so I'm sorry. I am learning
Craig
this
Sue,
now.
I
Yeah.
unmuted myself, sir.
Are you? Oh, okay. How did you do that? Thank you.
You know, I don't have a question, but what I do want to emphasize here to your team in particular, because I'm hammering this with my team, is the importance of Express University coming up in just about 60 days. That was a life-changing event for Diane and myself. And, you know, you hear events promoted all the time. This is as sincere and as heartfelt as I ever get. Diane's the emotional, I'm the logical person. I just want you and your team to understand the importance of Express University. When you go to that event, you'll never be the same. It's kind of like when you take your team to the corporate office and how the belief level skyrockets. This is even better, I promise you, because you catch the heart of the Cepeda team. And it's not just Herb and Patty. They have created a culture that is magnetic. You can't help but feel welcome. You can't help but feel loved. And you can't help but feel like you have found your home for life. So I just encourage you. I know there's going to be a Zoom call like this from somebody outside of Cepeda team, and they're going to mention that these tickets are available in the back office, and they're all going to go like that, and it's going to be gone before we know it if they're not already. So, Crank Sue, I would just encourage your entire team to invest in themselves and get to Express University. It is life-changing. I just want to add that because I think it is so, so important.
Yeah.
Patty, great job today.
Thank you, Chuck. Yes, you're so right. It is so valuable. You do want to invest in yourself. And one of the key things is that the belief that you know, the more you're exposed to and around people and that event, for example, your belief just grows. Jessica exploded her business. And I tell people all the time, I'm no different than you are. I don't look like anything different. Like, we just don't. I mean, we come to our house, like the Uber driver picked us up and he was like, oh my gosh, what do? That type of thing. That's one thing. But I meet people out and about all the time. They don't even know what type of success. And I say to people all the time, I'm no different than you are. And one day Jessica believed it. She says that. She says, that was her turning point. She goes, I never really believed you. She goes, but one day I believed you. And that's what you get at these events. You get that belief. Like you actually see me spitting on myself and you're like, oh my gosh, if she can do it, I can do it. That's what we want. We want you to realize that, excuse me, I hate sales. I was never a public speaker. I was shy as a kid. I mean, I've got everything. When we started with this, we didn't have the money. We didn't have anything going. We didn't have a following, nothing. We started with parents. I've been volunteering my time in basketball and coaching basketball to stay involved with my kids, and I love the game and played and all that. But I started with parents of kids for Isogenics, parents of kids I coached, the neighbors, family, and family can be the worst. But the truth is they're all watching you. We all have two people, though, that if you opened a franchise, if you spent $1 million on a franchise, they would support you. If you opened a shoe store and invested all your money in inventory in a shoe store or a restaurant, there's people that would come and support you that you know. You're starting a business, they would support you. I just feel like sometimes we're just feeling like we need to sell something. Well, everybody sells something. You would have to sell them their meal if they came to the restaurant. What you would need to start your business is everything, the steaks, the salt, the pepper, you'd have the investment in the location and the rent. And I mean, guys, you're starting a business here for $1,000 if you're, at the high level. If you come in with everything, like I had to come in with everything. Herbie was hitting the ceiling. He's like, what are you doing? I said, listen, I spent $1,400. He's like, Patty. I said, listen, babe, if it doesn't work and it doesn't taste good, I'm sending it back. No risk. There's no risk. But if you treated it like you spent $1 million or $100,000 or whatever, $300,000, this is how much franchises cost. If you treated it like that, it'll treat you back the same way. You treat it like big business, it'll treat you back like big business. This is big, big business. So anyway, back to you. Any other questions?
Yes, is there any other questions? You have to treat it like a business. Hotels were full, but I called the hotel and they had rooms. So anybody who wants to go, do it now. It's a plane ticket is not so expensive if you do it early enough.
Yeah.
I thank you very much, Patty, for coming on to my Zoom. And this Zoom will be soon turned over to Sarah Marino. It's her Zoom. So we'll have her host this. She's a much better hostess than I. I suck on these things. But anyway, it will be turned over to her in a few weeks, and she will continue to do this every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And I'll try to invite as different guests as possible. Nobody's going to be as good as Patty, but you know what? You can learn from others too. So I am ending this Zoom. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week, same time, same ID number. Okay? Bye-bye.
Awesome.